Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Make a wish.
Round and round we go, losing self-control. I keep telling myself, but I don't wanna let you know. Is this what we become? Strangers on the run, looking for something, chasing the sun. All those days, trying to find a place where you'll make them just be alone, be alone. All those nights lying by your side, like you survived, feeling it shine under your spotlight.
about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
I walk to you so I can be close to you. It's really simple if you look at it that way. Time that we get by with money we don't know. Pockets empty but ours are full anyway. Hey, playing like children and love like orange. You were too good for me, but I wanted you anyway. I always loved you over my head, even when you lived alone to make your parents mad. Say goodbye to your old life, turn the page, follow my bed. I don't care if loving you over my head. You talk to me like breeze, running free, beautiful images everywhere. You take a picture of us kissing in cars, it makes my day 10 times better. Yeah, playing like children and love like orange. You were too good for me, but I wanted you anyway. I always loved you over my head, even when you lived alone to make your parents mad. Say goodbye to your old life, turn the page, follow my bed.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to, well, almost to the end of our season here at Apollo Racing Club ACC GT3 action. Tonight is I would say, well, round 7 here. And, we're in for some great racing as we are at Laguna Seca. I'm EV500. Joining me in the broadcasting booth tonight is none other than Moose McAdams. Hello, Moose. How we doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Glad to be here. Ready for some exciting racing out at Laguna Seca, one of my favorite tracks. And as we come to the end of this season here, well, we got a couple more races, but as we get closer to the finish, this is a good track to get to the end of the season on.
Laguna Seca is 2.2 miles long with 180 feet elevation change. Its 11 turns are highlighted by the circuit's signature turn, the downhill plunging corkscrew at turns 8 and 8A. A variety of racing, expedition, and entertainment events are held at the raceway, ranging from super karts to sports cars, racing to music festivals. Laguna Seca is classified as an FIA Grade 2 circuit now, so no longer having F1 cars. No F1 cars going on that. It's some I've heard IndyCar goes on this track, and I don't know how they do it, but apparently it's Roman Grosjean's new favorite track.
Yeah, no, he had a phenomenal weekend just recently. Placed pole during qualifying, and I don't know if they've had the race yet, but making the switch making the switch from F1 to IndyCar has been very successful for Roman Grosjean. It's good to see him. Roman
Grosjean placing second today in the race, while the Dutchman of can't remember his name actually, but he's a first-time IndyCar winner on the same day that Max Verstappen won the Spanish Grand Prix 5 years ago. So, well, it is time for qualifying. 18 minutes on the clock. 20 minutes on the clock, not 18. That's F1 rules. First 10 minutes is our amateur class, which we have quite a bit of amateurs still. We have Alan Zoe in the Aston Martin, the Euro Yeet car, the same livery that they used at the 4 Hours of Spa last weekend.
Yeah, and an exciting race that was. Quite a lot of our field actually was out on that race. We got to see a few of our amateurs that were teamed up with some of the Apollo Racing Club staff, and we also had our current season leader, Alexis Moyson, in the Aston Martin today, was in the car with Fred Fosberg, who's also here tonight, and placed second in that 4 Hours of Spa. Put on quite the performance for us.
Yes, indeed he did. So, well, we are starting our hot laps here. So, yeah, there's just a few amateurs out there. Alan Zoe, Ryan Baker, Big Bark in the Pink Pig Live Porsche. Dave Grills in the Grills Motorsports Porsche. Jeff Fleischman in the Audi. Rogue, who hasn't been here in a while, he is in the Jack Daniels Racing Aston Martin. Thornton, who has been very impressive this season. He's been one of the very few amateurs to get into the podium positions, McAdams.
Yeah, and Thornton impressing a lot of people just throughout the season. Currently is our leader in the amateur class, and definitely one we'll be keeping an eye on. And actually, the two cars that are currently on their now hot laps are second and third in our season here in the amateur class. Ryan Barker and Big Bark there in the pink Porsche. Definitely going to be looking for good performances out of all of them. And if their practice session was any indicator of what their race is going to look like, we're going to have some amateurs that are going to be fighting some of our pro ticket drivers. It's going to be very, very exciting, especially at a track like Laguna Seca. Not a lot of track, but a lot of opportunities for close fighting as a result of that. It's going to be very exciting to see how that unfolds today.
Blue Cow, the number 69 Slow Poke Porsche. That is, he actually is using a Lightning McQueen livery. Looks, almost there. It's almost there. I like it, though. I like it. Brandon Gobes currently in the Lexus.
We are going to start seeing the first of the results out of our amateur qualifiers here shortly. Big Bark currently leading the charge coming into the final corner, and we should have a lap time from him shortly. We'll see if he's gone the route of just pushing as hard as he can right out of the gate, or if he's going to set a quality, just kind of safe, something to get on the board. Puts in a 1:23.4, though. Not what I would consider any slouch of a pace by any measure. So he's going out there and going after it. And one driver definitely to keep an eye on has been putting a lot of time into that Porsche. It's a notoriously tricky car to drive, but he has spent an absurd amount of time learning how to wrangle that car. And it's turning into some results for him on the track.
Rogue now putting up a 1:24.2, going second fastest behind Big Bark in that Aston Martin. And Thornton in the Mercedes now putting up a 1:24.6, followed by and then Alan Zoe with a 1:24.8. So Thornton a little bit slow on the pace, I would say, for the amateurs. If he wants to be fighting for podium positions today in that Mercedes, he's going to have to definitely be faster than that. He's 1.1 seconds off of Big Bark's pace right now.
Yeah, and Big Bark is he's on a flyer right now. Oh, as I say that, he gets the commentator's curse as he loses it. And he got Porsche, the back end stepped out on him while he was lifting. That is unfortunate. He was on a good lap, was almost a half second up on his previous lap, and is now going to have to worry about nursing out another lap. We'll see if that had a detrimental enough effect on his tires to prevent him from putting in faster times. But even with that said, still feeling pretty good about his quali time. 8/10 currently separating him in second place.
Looking over at Jeff Fleischman now, his fastest time is 1:25.9 as he comes into the corkscrew. And this is where we are going to potentially see carnage on this track. It's very easy to get some snap oversteer and just your car just going completely off the track in that corner if you don't land it right. So here comes Jeff Fleischman now as he is approaching the final turn. He's looking quite good here. He's 3/10 up on his fastest time. It's not quite a second quicker, but at least could jump him a couple of positions here in the amateur class.
We'll see as he crosses. Yeah, and he is going to displace Brandon Gobes for 6th place. And looks like Brandon is now going to have to worry about trying to answer that to get that position back. Looking at the rest of the amateurs on the track, got a couple of yellow flags. People going off in the corkscrew, but nobody hitting each other, thankfully.
Eiston just goes second fastest now with a 1:24.2 in that Lamborghini. Very nice. Nice job there from Eiston. I know he's been looking for some pretty good results this season, and he just hasn't quite found them yet, but this may be the start of a new chapter here.
Yeah, and that's always what we're looking to see. You know, the more people are finding crazy pace, the more they're nipping at the heels of the pro drivers, the more exciting racing we have to watch here from the spectators booth. So I'm certainly hoping that he has a good race and is able to start picking up the pace with that previous flyer. Ooh, Rogue is going to answer that with an improvement of 2400ths, which is enough to put him in front of Iceton, but then Thornton coming in with a 24.2. Currently, let's see, 2nd through 5th place, there is less than 1/10 of a second between those lap times. So if close racing is what we were hoping for, that's what we're going to be looking at least for the AM class.
The amateur field really spreading out, and the pro class hasn't even gone yet, and that's going to separate them a little bit. And that's really going to make this race really interesting because it is Laguna Seca. It's a super tiny track. It's so narrow, and especially when you go up the hill, there's not really a chance to pass up the hill. You don't really want to make an overtake really till the final turn.
Yeah, and you can make an argument. There are really 3, we'll say, conventional places to pass on this track. One of them being the final turn, the other one being the 2nd and 3rd, the Andretti hairpin, and then maybe there's another unnamed corner. I think it's turn 6. But yeah, it's a tight track. These are the GT3 cars. They're a little bigger than their GT4 counterparts, making them just that much wider on the track. on a track that already doesn't have very much room to spare. And these cars are not going slow by any measure of the imagination. Most of these cars entering the corkscrews braking zone just north of almost 120 miles an hour. And they're going at a corner that drops 59 feet in the course of less than about maybe a second and a half. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch these cars fighting together, especially once we get 20 of them on the track at the same time.
Jeff Fleischman putting up a 124.6, now going sixth fastest, going in front of the Aston Martin of Alan Zoo, excuse me. And now let's see who else. Easton now 7/10 up on his fastest time. Is he going to get there? He does. He goes fastest. Woo. He goes 123.4, really saying a statement here in the amateur class.
Yeah, and that is wow, that's quick. That's two very quick times. Actually, three very quick times out of our amateurs' top three. Again, all within a tenth of each other, with first and second being just 4 100ths of a second off of one another. We'll see if they're able to keep that pace going throughout the entire race. And if it is, we're going to have some very interesting battles going on between these top three amateurs.
Ryan Baker now going with a 124.08, going fourth fastest in that Nissan.
Yeah, and even that, I mean, that's still just barely more than a half second slower than our current amateur leader. That's striking distance by any measure. So yeah.
Dave Grills right now is on track. He's going through the hairpin. It's kind of a faster pace qualifying because this is the last lap he can do because the pro class are coming out here in 20 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any other cars in the amateur class that are going to get to finish any of the laps that they're on. At this point, they're going to need to be returning to the pits to make way for our pro qualifiers. But it looks like he's going to be coming around, just finished going through the corkscrew. He's going to filter his way to the start-finish line. We'll see what that lap time looks like when he gets there.
He gets a 124.5 for Dave Grills.
Okay.
Goes sixth fastest.
And Thornton is coming around the last corner right now. Currently a 10th up. Doesn't look like he's going to make it stick, though. No, he does make a small improvement on his best time. Shaved a couple of hundredths off there, but not enough for a position. And that's going to be the end of the amateur qualifiers as the pros make their way out onto the track, and we'll start to see what the quick times are going to be if our amateurs qualified remarkably well. Or if we're about to see their times look a whole lot less impressive.
Right now, looks like Joshua Kimball in the Grid Finder Works Ferrari is leading this pack, and I don't blame him. You probably want to have clean air here at Laguna Seca on your qualifying lap, especially on your out lap. You don't want to get held up. You just want to go. You have 8 minutes, 50 seconds to put up the best lap times you can go. And just look at that Ferrari. It's really doing a nice job sticking to the ground, especially through that part of this track. That is a very difficult part to keep the car just stable and not understeered or even oversteer.
Yeah, and mid-engine cars don't like to make up their mind on which one they're going to do. They can do either one of them at a moment's notice. Having the engine in the middle of the car makes balancing it very, very tricky. And the saying steering with your feet comes to mind, just because of how much you have to focus on keeping the weight of that car balanced so that it can be uphold its nimble reputation. The Ferrari is very, very quick, but it can just as quickly end your race if you are not 100% on top of driving that car.
Looking at temperatures right now, the track temperature is 28 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty toasty out there on the track, and that's exactly what I was hoping for tonight. A nice warm day, no rain, no clouds. So let's make this race a pretty interesting, especially in this slick track. As now Fife, he goes off track. That's going to invalidate his lap. Let's head over to Alexis Moyson now. He is our points leader in that Aston Martin, and he drove a hell of a good race last Saturday. Sadly didn't come out with the win at the 4 hours of Spa, but definitely somebody who can really use a win right now.
Yeah, and it was a hard fought battle, but it just came down to well, the luck of Spa and a little bit of strategy decision making on the part of Alexis Moyson and his teammate for that race. Definitely going to be looking to get that win here. The Aston Martin, a good car to do it on. There's not really a lot of opportunities where it's, lack of straight line speed is going to be hurting it. And just the fact that it is a predictable car is going to make it a safe one for this race. But as we're saying that, he crosses the start finish line. So that's a 122.8, our first qualifying lap out of the, it's fast. First qualifier to outpace our amateurs.
He made that look completely easy as Tommy Kogan goes sixth now with a 123.6. Daniel Wright right behind Alexis Moyson with a 123.2. Righteous Fire putting up a 123.6, going seventh fastest. Niall Drake as well in the Aston Martin going with a 123.8. He goes ninth fastest. Craig Bray looking to try and improve on his time. He's currently in the top 10 with a 123.9 in that Aston Martin. Who else? It looks like Fife had to get out of the way of Alexis Moyson, and Alexis Moyson's 1.4 seconds down. Looking at Righteous Fire in the RFI Racing Porsche with the cat livery that says, "I want to go fast."
Gotta love the Talladega Nights references. It's the Me car, the Me Racing.
The Me Racing car, and here he comes. He's 0.3 up on his Delta. He goes third fastest with a 123.3. Hello, Righteous. He came to play.
Yeah, and something I just want to call attention to again. These, second through fourth place, all within a tenth of one another. And the amateurs that we were watching qualify just a little bit ago within 0.2 of that. So we're going to have an incredibly packed field here. If everybody's able to hang on to their relative pace once we fill up the cars and get ready for the green flags of the race. With Alexis Moyson right now currently charging up the track 0.6 up on his previous best lap. We'll see if he's able to hang on to it.
Looking at Craig Bray, he was able to come across the line and put up a 122.9, so he's creeping up on Alexis Moyson, and this will be his best qualifying this season in that Aston Martin.
Yeah, is Aston Martin going to be the car to beat here today? It certainly put up a fight at Spa last Saturday and at Silverstone the Saturday before that.
Here comes Alexis Moyson now, 0.8 up, almost a second up on his fastest lap time. And Fred Forsberg, who was his teammate at Spa, was so proud of him. And he was so happy. Fred is somebody who is very knowledgeable, especially in setups. And now Alexis Moyson putting up a 121.9. What is this man on? What is this man on today? This is too. So he has thrown it up on pole at Spa in the 4 hours of Spa, and now he's throwing it up at pole, and now he's 0.9 up on second place.
Yeah, I think we're in for a treat, whether or not people are able to keep up with them or not. Because I mean, if somebody's able to keep up with them, bravo! You're going to be making a very fast man sweat. But even if he's just too quick to be caught up with, we're going to see some very very talented driving out of Alexis Moyson here. Because the other thing is, being blisteringly quick at Laguna Seca does not mean you're racing by yourself like at a track like Spa. He's going to be driving with a lot of lap traffic if he's driving that quick.
Dave Hassar now putting his Waluigi Racing BMW. That is such a mouthful to say. He puts it up on P3 now, 0.9 off of Alexis Moyson's pace with a 122.8, and Daniel Wright, as you were talking there, Moose, puts it up on a 122.7, going second fastest here at Laguna Seca in that Audi.
Yeah, and certainly no surprise to see Daniel Wright going very quick in that Audi. What is surprising is just how great the gap between him and Alexis Moyson is. Still 0.8 between first and second place right now. And Moyson's still going for the hot laps, not showing any signs of being okay with the crazy lap time he already set. Just really wants to be safe and secure in first place. But at this point, it's going to take some pretty absurd driving out of any of the drivers, it looks like, to be able to close up that gap. And with just 2 minutes left in qualifying, not a lot of time for them to do it. It doesn't look like.
I want to look over at Kieran Fox right now in P12. He's currently 0.2 up on his pace on his recent lap time, and 0.2 up. That really means a difference in this top 10. I mean, just look how close it is.
Yeah, if you were to remove Alexis Moyson's time from that, you're looking at less than a second between almost 10 cars. That's going to be very, very exciting. It looks like Moyson's put it into the pits as Daniel Wright here or Kieran Fox is getting ready to cross the start-finish line to get some fresh rubber and maybe set another quicker qualifying lap if such a thing is possible. And it looks like both Dave Hassar and Daniel Wright have shaved some times off of their qualifiers, not enough to dethrone Alexis Moyson there on pole, but enough to get a little bit closer. Now our second place car being just 0.6 behind the leader.
Tommy Cogan in the Aston Martin Racing car goes fifth fastest with a 1:23.1. What a lap from him. So this field is very, very tight tonight. I'm excited for the racing.
Yeah.
It's giving me a little bit of chills to know what could potentially come, because it could be potential carnage. Who knows? There's no safety car. It could be the cleanest racing we have seen all season. And that's the best part about sim racing. You never know what you're going to get. And here comes Waffle Smacks. He's 0.2 up on his fastest time in P7. If he improves here, he could potentially put himself in the top 5. And here he comes across the start-finish line. Does he do it? He does. He goes 5th fastest with a 1:23.1.
That's a big difference here. It's every position you make up going into it's not the first turn, it's the second and the third, but it's the first one that matters. The Andretti hairpin there at the end of the pit straight is a godsend, because it can get messy. It's a heavy braking zone, and there's a lot of cars trying to get through a narrow piece of track.
And now Righteous Fire goes 5th fastest, knocks Waffle Smacks out of the top 5 with a 1:22.9. What a lap from him.
What a lap from him. Let's see who else is still out on the track.
Hassar.
We've got Dave Hassar is on a flyer here.
He just cuts the track. There's no way he gets away with that. There's no way he gets away with that one. But, that will do it. That was quite the qualifying. Tommy Cogan puts it on P4 with a 1:22.8. Well, Moose, what do you think of that qualifying? Look at that time from Alexis Moyson. Daniel Wright still a half a second off of it.
I think every bit of excitement we just had watching that 20-minute qualifying session is going to be pale in comparison to what the 45-minute race we're about to watch is going to look like, with times coming in that close together.
Righteous Fire. He still has a time to put up. He is outside of the top 5. He's currently a 10th up on his pace as he comes into the final turn. And so is Tommy Cogan. Is Tommy Cogan done? No,
yeah,
he is done.
No. We got a couple more, so let's see what Righteous Fire does.
Can he get across there? Can he get there? He does not! He puts up a 1:23.0.
And the session ends on Tommy Cogan with, he was half second up on his time. Is that going to affect the standings? It is not. That is unfortunate.
No, he had the checkered flag way before that, so on that lap.
Okay.
So lap before. So, but Alexis Moyson takes pole position here, and what a lap from him. He's a 1:21.9, and that's exactly what you like to see.
Well, now here we are on the starting grid here at Laguna Seca, and we are going to be getting ready for our 45-minute race, and I have no idea what to expect. Ordinarily, you have at least some idea of how the race is going to finish, but with the times as close as they were during qualifying, none of the pro drivers really, except for maybe the top 3 blowing the amateurs out of the water. It's going to be very exciting to see how this race goes. I think it's a very even playing field based on what the qualifying paces look like. And with it being only a 45-minute race, there's not going to be the same level of care put into maintaining the tires, to making sure the car gets around. It's a short race. 45 minutes is not a lot of time for racing, and especially on a short track like this. These I would be fighting tooth and nail for this entire race, almost treating it like another qualifying opportunity, just where the finish is actually for keeps. And it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers play it, especially on a warm day like this. You're going to see tire life start to become a problem towards the end of the race. It'll be interesting to see how the drivers maintain their tires and manage the race.
Biambi was here, and he is somebody who we haven't seen in a couple of weeks, but he's no longer. He just mustn't had issues, but he is somebody who's very quick. Who I'm saddened that he's not here tonight. But now, a minute 30 before the formation, the warm up lap really starts, the formation lap, and just the amateur class tonight didn't quite show up in the way that I was hoping for, but man, these pro class drivers, they really stacked it, and it's anyone's race. You have the Aston Martin in P1, the Audi in P2, a BMW in P3. We haven't said that at all this season. A Porsche in P6. Seeing a Porsche in the top 10. That's something we haven't seen in a while. BMW in P7, also something that hasn't happened in a while. The Lambo putting it itself in the top 10 as well. So these cars really did, these guys really did some practice for this race and really proved it.
Yeah, and it is a favorite amongst a lot of the drivers who play this game, especially over in our neck of the woods here, as it is the only American track in the game currently. So it is naturally a favorite of those from the States, myself included.
Bring Coda. There you go. All right, here we go. Everybody has finished up their setups, got their race fuel all set, and are ready to go. And luckily, I hope everybody kept their tires warm. Would hate to have some cold tires, especially on lap 1 going through the corkscrew. That is not a place to have some ice cold tires. But here we go. Alexis Moyson leading the field away for the 7th round of the Apollo Racing Club ACC GT3 Sprint League. Daniel Wright, somebody who is very acquainted with P2 this season. He's definitely looking for a win tonight, though, in that Audi.
Indeed, he is. And Daniel Wright, a veteran driver here, consistently performs well. But whether it's from passing, blue flag cars or other people just kind of charging away, he just hasn't really had the luck put together in order to cinch up a podium victory. Definitely going to be looking for that today here. Audi, very, very quick. It's very, very quick at Laguna Seca. And it's just going to come down to putting all the pieces together in this 45-minute race to overtake that one position in front of him, but he certainly has his work cut out for him. Alexis Moyson putting in a blistering time during qualifying. We'll see if he's able to hang on to that during the race here.
Looking at Dave Hassar in the Waluigi Racing BMW, that is his best qualifying this season here in the Sprint League. Can he win this race today? Can that BMW hold up today? That's it's a 50-50, I feel like, with that car, honestly. I don't think it's really his driving. I think it's honestly just the car and just how it is in ACC. Can it hold on to this P3? Can it advance on this Audi?
That's going to be something that remains to be seen. Usually one of the few things that the BMW is able to do well is it's got very, very good straight line speed and not really very much else that's great about it. And Laguna Seca is not a good track for that. Not a lot of opportunities for it to be able to really stretch its legs and take advantage of the fact that it can outpace almost every other car on the track. It will be interesting to see how he's able to manage that over these 45 minutes as they are almost finished up with the formation lap, getting ready to start the race here.
Well, I see 3 Aston Martin cars in the top 10. I bet those guys will try and help each other out so they don't kill each other. And wreck each other, but who knows? But Alexis Moyson getting the last bit of tire warmth as they come through the final turn, and the flag man with the green flag in the air as Alexis Moyson leads the field to the start-finish line to
There's-
start 45 minutes of action. And now here we go. Green, green, green. And away we go here as Alexis Moyson tries and defends away from P1 against Daniel Wright. But Daniel Wright, he's going to try and get up there ahead of Alexis Moyson as they go into turn number 1. But Alexis Moyson defends very hard and keeps the lead. And man, what some clean racing. Let's take a look in the back now as Tommy Cogan and his teammate Craig Bray are going wheel to wheel as they go into turn number 2.
Yep, and then we're watching. It looks like we had a little bit of confusion that happened at the start of the race. It looks like our current amateur leader Thornton there, starting from almost a corner behind. Not sure what happened there, but starting off very late, has his work cut out for him to catch up to the rest of the pack. But looking at the race leader Alexis Moyson right now, it does look like he is kind of pulling away from second place. Not a lot of distance between them, but that's quite a lot considering we're not even through the first lap yet as they come up the hill, getting ready to enter into the corkscrew. And we're going to see how the first cars are able to filter through that. Looks like our pole position cars are just going to make that look simple as the rest of the pack starts to filter through there, and they're largely keeping it clean. Doesn't look like any major incidents through there, which is unexpected, but certainly welcome. As the back of the pack is going through there, and yeah, it doesn't look like we had any collisions or major incidents there. As we flip back over, we're going to take a look. I'm looking at Alexis Moyson here, getting ready to cross the start-finish line. We're going to see what our first lap looks like here. That's right, the timing's messed up. It doesn't count it until we get through the next hot lap, but nonetheless, go ahead.
Rogue managed to gain a few positions there, putting himself back into P9 now. And that's really nice from him, especially that Aston Martin. So the Aston Martins are very quick on the opening lap, but that's all right because the top 3 haven't changed and they're able to keep going here. But there is going to be some challenge here for that BMW of Dave Hassar now as we look with him as he's trying to chase down the BMW. But he lost quite a bit of time to the BMW.
Yeah,
to the Audi.
To the Audi in front, yeah, and it's going to be an uphill battle for him. Like I said, its greatest strength is its straight line speed, and there is just nowhere here for it to take advantage of that. To see him qualify as well as he did really speaks more to his driving than the car helping him, which is not the case for the Aston Martin or the Audi, both very strong cars at this track. And the 2 drivers that are driving him in first and second place are definitely going to be fighting, but it does look like Alexis Moyson is able to start really putting some distance between him and the 2 cars behind. It looks like really we're going to be looking at a battle between Dave Hassar and Daniel Wright if Hassar is able to pick up the pace and close in on that Audi, get him thinking about him. As
we start our third lap here at Laguna Seca, the current time's 1:23.6 for Daniel Wright. So the 1:23 seems to be about a reasonable pace for everybody right now. Yeah, and that is a very, very quick lap time for a race pace. Looking at a lot of the best laps coming out of there, looks like we're kind of averaging around the mid to high 124s is where the top 10 pace is probably going to be. If you want, that's going to be the barrier to entry. And we're seeing a lot of lap times that are not far off of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. As we're on the third lap of this race, the field is starting to separate out, and there's been almost unbelievably little drama between these drivers. They've managed to keep it clean, and they're all just running their race. And the beauty of that is that they haven't separated out all that much. It's looking like everybody's kind of really close on pace. Anything could happen here. Keep looking behind in the field. It looks like some guys are really battling it hard as they come through the corkscrew. So Big Bark and Ice Tin having a look at each other. So Big Bark behind that Lamborghini and some nice onboard shots of that Porsche and Lambo fight as they come into the final turn. And this is what I like to see. And honestly, looking at the driver lineup, a lot of guys, in our community would look at that and say, these are 21 drivers who like to keep it clean and are very gentlemanlike about their driving. That's what you like to see on a Saturday night is your drivers driving very clean on a league night. Absolutely. You don't want to see races get ruined, and the quickest way to do that is to get involved in an incident or unfortunately get collected in one. And it looks like none of these drivers are willing to put that risk on their plate for finishing this race.
Watching what is currently unfolding to be a battle for the top 10 as Kieran Fox is closing in on these two now in the Audi behind. And at this point, it's tough to say what's going on between Ice Tin and Big Bark. Looks like Bark almost ran a little bit wide and lost back in a little bit, but he's able to hang on to it. We go into this corner up into the back straight and get prepared for the corkscrew. Not an easy place to pass, but we'll see if Bark is going to try it or if he's just going to wait. They're going to get real close, but he's going to make the smart move and decide to wait for another time to pass, because that is asking for a race ruin to try and pass during the corkscrew, as they are going to filter down through sector 3 of the track and leave some space and maybe just have another battle on another lap.
That Lamborghini is pretty quick here, I will admit. I'm a critic of the Lambo. It's very difficult to drive, and the fact that this very difficult car on a very, I would say, probably a very difficult track for it to drive on is actually outperforming here.
This is a difficult track for mid-engine cars, but mid-engine cars definitely have an advantage here just because of how nimble they are and how quickly you can rotate those cars. Really helps at a track that has as many tight turns and mid-speed turns as Laguna Seca is where those cars really shine. As you can see, making it very difficult for Big Bark in the Porsche behind him to get around and make a move. And that is just, he's going to try it on the inside. And, is he going to be able to get the job done? Going through the inside, is able to take the inside line. And just as I'm saying, Ice Tin is making it difficult to pass. Big Bark makes an easy move up the inside, and he is going to be able to get around and just leave Kieran Fox and Ice Tin in the dust. And it looks like Kieran Fox is going to get around Ice Tin as well, coming up just in front of the corkscrew. And they're going to have to... Wow, that is a lot to have happen in just two corners there, but we've now seen 3 positions change, as now Big Bark is in 10th place with Kieran Fox behind in 11th, and Ice Tin was previously in 10th place, now in 12th, going to have to try to fight to catch up to the 2 cars that just got around him.
Looking now with Waffle Smacks in the BMW, he's having a battle with Craig Bray in the Aston Martin. They're going to go wheel to wheel as they come down the hill. But some nice braking there from Waffle Smacks. He's going to tuck in behind him, try to do the switcheroo, but doesn't find the gap in time, doesn't get quite the exit that he wanted. And he's just going to tuck and just go behind still as they go through turn 2, going down into turn 3. And this is where you have to really throw it in. This is one of your very few chances to try and overtake coming up as they come into the Andretti hairpin. And this battle right here, this is quite the battle for 6th place.
It is, and you've got 2 very, very different cars in the hands of 2 very similar drivers. It's going to be interesting to watch these 2, because I would argue that neither one of them has the advantage over the other. But really, it still comes back to that BMW is going to have an uphill battle here. That said, both of our drivers in that car have held on to their respective positions, haven't gained any positions, haven't lost any. So I wonder if it's just a defensive race for them or if they're just able to keep up better than intuition would suggest.
Well, looking now with Niall Drake, he got passed by Rogue as we were looking at the battle for P6. And Niall Drake, P9 right now in the Aston Martin, trying to chase down Rogue. Rogue is somebody who is is semi-new to ACC, and he's currently in PA. He's driving the tires off that Aston Martin.
He is, and all of these drivers need to be, because as we mentioned, this is just a 45-minute race, not the standard hour or 90-minute endurance variation here. These drivers don't have a lot of time on the track to make things happen, so they've got to be driving aggressive this entire time and fighting for every 10th of a second they can make on every single lap in hopes to capitalize on what little time they have. And all of that while trying to make sure that those tires are able to last for the entire 45 minutes. Makes it for a very interesting variation on the race. Watching this battle for 8th, we've got 3 cars all within a second of each other. Big Bark has managed to catch his way up to the cars that were starting to put a gap in front of them and is going to be fighting for 8th place here shortly if Rogue and Drake don't do something to put some space between them.
And Fife, looking at Fife now, he has spun the grid finder works Ferrari. And that is just that his race has gone from bad to worse now, as he is currently in the back of the field. Not, somebody who's been in the top 10 this season, even the top 5. He's had some very decent races. And this race particular, just not his night so far, but still 35 minutes to go here. Let's take a look now over at Kieran Fox, who is currently trying to make that gap between him and Big Bark even smaller, as Big Bark has entered the battle, as Moose said earlier, with this this pair here, 8th through 10th. This is it's getting tight, and I am loving every second of it. Let's take a look at Tommy Kogan now, who is 7/10 behind Dave Hassar.
Yeah, and Dave Hassar is going to have to be sweating at this point. He has kind of he's left a little bit of a gap to him in the car in front. Daniel Wright in second place of about 7 seconds, depending on when the let's see here. Actually, it's closer to 4 seconds, depending on when the splits change. But Hassar is going to be thinking about Tommy Kogan behind him in that number 55 Aston Martin. If I saw Kogan in my rearview mirror, I'd start panicking, because he is a quick driver, and when he has decided that it is time for him to pass, he does not take prisoners.
No.
Hassar is going to be focusing on trying to keep that BMW safely in front of him, so that he doesn't have to worry about any passes going on here, so he can hang on to that pole position, because that is what it is, a podium position, because that is what it is a battle for. This is a battle for third place, and Tommy Kogan is going to be wanting to be the one winning it.
See what other battles are continuing on here. Let's take a look back at our midfield battle here. This is, our midfield drivers are very good and just very clean, obviously, and they're just driving very well tonight on this circuit, and just really, now we see some yellow flags coming out. I don't know who that is. Is that Ice Tin?
That was Big Bark. He got the back end stepped out on him at the exit of the Andretti hairpin there, and it put him out into the sand. It looks like it is going to cost him, that is a 3-position loss for him, and probably some less than round tires now that he's going to have to contend with in order to try and fight those positions back. As we watch Niall Drake runs wide out at the back straight leading up to the hairpin. Doesn't look like it cost him all that much, but these drivers need to focus up. You're not even 15 minutes into this. You got some racing to do. Got to take care of those tires. They work a lot better when they're circular.
Alexis Moyson now just gapping the crap out of this field. 3 seconds over Daniel Wright, but Dave Hassar, he's currently 4 seconds back. So, but Tommy Kogan's trying to say something about that as well. Rogue now approaching Waffle Smacks. He's a half a second off of P7. Rogue, I'm very surprised. He dominates in F1. Well, not so much this season. He's having the fight for it this season. Definitely some stiff competition, like some very, very, very competitive drivers in our F1 Tier 1 league, but he's he's a Tier 1 champion. But somebody on ACC who's just gotten into it not too long ago, just really trying to get good at driving in a GT3 car in this game, in this sim. Driving very well here. He's up to P8 and beating a lot of drivers who have shown very fast pace in our Saturday night league. But as I say that, runs wide and follows Waffle Smacks.
Yeah, and the transition from F1 to a GT car is not a small one. I actually used to play F1 before I started playing this, and I actually had to give up driving F1 cars just because of how much different the discipline of driving a GT car is. So to see somebody show up and put on the performance that Rogue is currently putting on, sitting in P8, potentially fighting for P7 here shortly, is very, very impressive. To go from a car that has brakes that work, aerodynamics that help, to going to a GT car that has neither of those. It's definitely a big gap to fill.
He's also somebody who is very good at iRacing, dominates in endurance events and his splits, and in road events as well, in our open wheels Thursday night iRacing series. So he is somebody who is in racing sims. He can pick them up and do very, very well in no matter what car he drives. Honestly, he is very good at driving really any car. So very impressive to see what he can put on here. The man is very impressed. Very impressed what he can do here.
As we were saying that, it looks like Niall Drake had a bit of a mishap, ran wide going through turns 4, just out into the sand, cost him a position with D's Grills taking it away from him, who is now going, doesn't look like the standings have updated yet, but there it goes, with D Grills taking 11th place. Niall Drake going to have to try and fight that back. And something that needs to be said about Niall Drake here, the man drives with a controller. So that he's doing this well, with potentially the most challenging of control systems, is very, very impressive.
Does the field pretty much spread out now? Do we have anything close? It just looks like Niall, maybe?
Well, we had a little bit of confusion there at the corkscrew. I was watching Brandon Gobes. Blue Cow overshot the corkscrew and was in. Oh, right as I say that, Gobes gets knocked off of the track by Ryan Barker. Ooh, and Barker's going to give the position back. That's the right thing to do there, but that was not a light hit for either one of those two cars. In a very, very bad part of the track, and Gobes is going to put it into the pits to go fix that. It looked like he had some damage beforehand that may have been hindering his ability to drive. Looking at the scratched up state of his car, that's probably the case. But that extra tap there from Ryan Barker is definitely not going to be helping him with the amount of time he spends in there. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's take a look back out of the track, see if we can find a battle here.
Well, Niall Drake and D's Grills once again battle each other as they go into the hairpin. There is a car that is going to be Rogue. Oh no, Rogue has spun through the hairpin. Was that Rogue?
Yeah, it was, and he was at least able to get the car back out onto the track without causing an incident, and that is a difficult part of the track to do it from. As Niall Drake runs wide off of that, almost loses the back end of the car, manages to wrangle it back in before the braking zone of the final corner there and keep it on the straight, but that is going to give Grills just a little bit of an extra gap so he can breathe a little bit, if only momentarily, if Niall Drake is able to reel him back in like he did to begin with. It'd be interesting to see that.
He definitely wasn't. The only thing, people are going to say he was definitely clinching the steering wheel, but he was clinching more than that in that situation.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that could have turned his race into a disaster if he lost it there, because there is just a barrier not too far from there. But D's Grills, he saw that happen. He's taking advantage, and he is approaching Easton, who is now in P9 in the Lamborghini.
And actually, just two cars behind them, a battle between Rogue and Big Bark has emerged for 12th place right now. Big Bark, just a half second behind Rogue, has managed to cinch up the distance between the two of them after that spin at the corkscrew. And now Rogue has a very angry Porsche that is going to want to try and get around him as they go into the corkscrew. Let's see, both of them are able to keep it nice and composed and exit out to the next series of corners here. And it looks like Bark is just going to have to wait for another opportunity to pass, either in the final corner or at the Andretti hairpin, the two easiest places to do it in the Porsche. We'll see where he decides to make his move. But looking at that, it looks like he's going to hold off, not close enough to be able to make the move and try and get it to stick. So he's going to filter in behind him going down the pit straight and try and plan another pass later.
Thornton, oh my, what has happened to his Mercedes?
Oh, no. Can't be too bad. He's just decided not to go into the pits. He's going to stay out and try and keep racing with that. But
I think that the Mercedes has been damaged for quite a while. If he's been staying out like this, I'll have to ask him what happened after the race. But obviously not going well for him tonight.
No, and it has been rough since the start. He started behind the entire field by almost half of the first straight. Not sure what happened there, but that's certainly been hurting him. He's managed, despite the damage, to be able to move himself from last to 14th. So that certainly needs to be, had some attention paid to it. But it does make me wonder what happened to that car that is now in the state that it's in. And it does not look like it's helping his lap time, as he's currently 0.8 down on his best lap.
I'm looking here, trying to see if there's any damage on this Euro Yeet Aston Martin with Alan Zoe, excuse me, as he comes into the corkscrew. With that amount of damage on that Mercedes, he's got to be, if you're completely clean in the Aston Martin, you got to pick up the pace here.
Yeah, especially when you've got a Mercedes that's limping. You're not going to get very many opportunities to get around that thing here on this track. You got to take advantage of the fact that he is really struggling with pace right now, almost 2 seconds down. I understand it's a short race, but I would be thinking about getting that repaired right now just to try and salvage some pace, because it's certainly not going to be helping his tires either as we get to the almost the middle of this race here. He's going to be feeling that extra tire wear from not having the aero help. But something I want to turn your attention to is there's now a battle for third that's going on between Tommy Kogan and Righteous Fire that just loosened up a little bit, but they got real close going through the corkscrew there.
Well, I want to draw our attention to this battle for P9, as it is it's gotten crazy as D's Grills has lost his position, and he has fallen back into this pack, goes wheel to wheel, and both, what the heck is happening here?
That was 4 cars in the corkscrew is what's happening.
That was 4 cars going into the corkscrew. Now Dave Grills, he's going to go completely wide, and now he's going to have to avoid that Lamborghini. And nicely done there, but now there's a 5-car battle happening here. What has absolutely, that was some yikes moments there, but some nice clean driving happening from all these drivers, as Niall Drake is the favorable driver out of that as he gets P9 from Rogue, and he's going to have to wrestle Rogue as they go into turn 1.
Yeah, that's not something you see often. In any other circumstance during a race, the only time you see 4 cars in the corkscrew at the same time, they're usually facing in different directions on the track. But for the 4 of them to be able to get through there, not just quickly, but without hitting each other, is impressive, is putting it lightly. But the battle for 9th rages on. Niall Drake has just 0.6 between him and Rogue is not just thinking about attacking right now, he's thinking about defending, as he has a Porsche behind him just a 0.5 second behind. This battle for 9th is going to go into the corkscrew again, and we're going to see what happens this time. Hopefully it stays composed as Niall Drake runs wide off of the track, but he's able to maintain it. Looks like he's going to lose some speed and not have the best enter into the corkscrew. But, he's going to... Oh, okay. They're side by side. Oh, Big Bark almost closes the door and pushes Drake off of there, but leaves him just enough room to where he's able to hang on to it and not spin the car, but that is definitely going to hurt him going into the exit there. He's able to stay in front of Ice Tin, but Big Bark definitely got the better of that. I think we just watched a pass in the corkscrew, which is not something that you get to say often.
I'm just sitting here going, not again. We have now witnessed two
back-to-back laps where 4 cars are occupying the corkscrew at the same time, with a pass happening in the midst of all of that. Looks like Niall Drake is going to spend some time catching back up to the pack, but the battle for 9th continues on as we go through the Andretti hairpin with Big Bark right on the bumper of Rogue here in the Aston Martin, not giving him any chance to breathe, and potentially hurting his pace a little bit because he has to focus on driving defensively, not just running away. And it looks like it's going to be tight throughout this entire lap between these two. Neither one of them seems to have a lot of pace on the other. Either that or Bark is quicker and just can't get around him anywhere. And we're going to see this go into the corkscrew again as they come up. They start the ascent up to the top of the hill. And they're going to go through this as a really fast corner here. Got to put a lot of trust in the car. Either could very easily step out on you, but both of them are able to filter through that no problem. It looks like Bark is too far behind to make a move on the corkscrew, but it looked like he wanted to try it. Gave him a little peekaboo up the inside, but decides to go in after him and keep it safe. Thank you. And he's going to survive to try that another lap as they get ready to finish up another lap here at this race.
Oh, my Lord. What are we witnessing here in the 7th round of our GT3 ACC Sprint League, as now Rogue is coming up onto Roadside Cookie. That Lamborghini is in rough shape from the man, but he is currently in P19. But now this battle, it continues on. It rages on as they go in the turn number 1. Rogue early on the brakes there, I would say. Same with Big Bark, but they both make it through safely, and not hitting Roadside Cookie there. But will we see this battle go continuing on into the hairpin? That is the ultimate question I think the viewers at home are wondering. And really, honestly, guys, We have 11 people on Twitch right now, and I don't know how many on YouTube, but make sure to share this with your friends if they love some sim racing. This has been some great racing from the start of the race as Alexis Moyson now continues on here in his lead of 7 seconds at Laguna Seca. But this battle for P9 now is Rogue. He's going to go up into the hairpin. He has quite the gap over Big Bark this time. But Big Bark, he is a man who is known to break a little bit later. He does. He's trying to just find just some extra time. Really trying to just be really big in Rogue's mirror. Maybe push him into a mistake as they come through Sector 3. And wow, what some great racing that we saw with these 4 amateurs, really.
Yeah, no, and it's saying amateur is really just a name only. All of these drivers putting on an incredible show. It looks like Rogue got a bad exit onto the pit straight now with Bark right on his bumper, just inches between them. He's going to try it. He's coming up and around the first corner on the outside. He is just barely behind him, but is he going to have it in the braking zone? It looks like he's going to try and maybe get it on the exit, or no, he's just going to hang out in his position. He almost was in striking position there, but decided not to try it. It's a hard braking zone, and on the outside, the Porsche really does like to get upset. Rather than losing the back end and ending his race, he's going to decide and try and pass later on the track. But there's not really anywhere else on the track where he's going to have a good opportunity to do it. Maybe this upcoming corner here could try on the inside, but no, he's just going to filter in behind him. Looks like Bark is just going to be waiting for the mistake.
The battle for P3 has escalated, let's say, because Dave Hassar and Tommy Kogan are going to go wheel to wheel as they go into the final turn because Righteous Fire, he's there in the Porsche. And now these 3 are going to be battling for P3 through P5 now as they go across the start-finish line. Tommy Kogan gets the position now as he is in P3, but Dave Hassar is going to have something to say about that. He gets the late braking done, but guess what? Tommy Kogan takes the inside line. Righteous Fire, he's sticking it right there, though, as they go wheel to wheel. Dave Hassar and Righteous Fire now go wheel to wheel into turn 2, and wow, this is a battle that I wasn't expecting to see tonight, but surprises will happen as Dave Hassar is really trying to defend off the Porsche of Righteous Fire, but Righteous Fire may have something to say about that as he's going to follow him through up the hill as they go before the king, and this might go to the hairpin, Moose.
Yeah, I think it's going to. Tommy Kogan making it look like that pass was easy for him, definitely putting some space between the two of them, but Hassar and Righteous Fire here going to come up into the corkscrew, and Fire is going to look at the inside, and Hassar is going to put his car right where that Porsche is not able to get around it. That was a good defensive move on his part, putting a lot of trust in the car behind you not to rear-ending you, but you know what? You do you. And it looks like he's going to hang on to that 4th place for now, with Righteous Fire is still nipping at his toes to try and get that away from him. Just 3/10 between the two of them coming into the final corner. Looks like Fire had an opportunity to go for the outside, is not going to take it, but gets a great exit onto the straight. Hassar is just not able to get over to the middle of the track to try and cut him off. It is going to go into the Andretti hairpin again with these 2 cars to see what happens here. See, Hassar is able to get in front of him throughout the straight, put his car right in the middle.
No!
Oh, no! And there's contact between Righteous Fire and Hassar in the BMW. Unfortunately, put that car just right in front of the Porsche, and the Porsche didn't have anywhere to go. And that is going to be a position for Fire. I don't know that he should hang on to. I'd be giving it back, but that's, for the stewards to decide later what's going to happen there.
Well,
but
Iced has now gotten past Rogue. Just FYI. Rogue had to spin somewhere. Must have.
Ooh. And that means that we now have both Big Bark and Ice Tin in the top 10, which are now the amateurs leading right now.
This battle is just continuously heating up here as it continues the rage on. Tommy Kogan trying to approach Daniel right now for P2.
That happened fast. Okay, all right. So now we've got a battle for P2 that's about to rage on again between 2 very equally skilled drivers in 2 very different cars in this case, but they're having to compete with some blue flag traffic, which is probably not making Wright all that happy right now, who now has Tommy Kogan in his rearview mirror looking to take the position away from him, and Tommy Kogan has been running away with this race. I believe he qualified down in P6, has made up quite a few positions, now sitting in P3 for the bronze medal finish, but is not going to settle for that because he has silver in his sights here with Daniel Wright just in front of him. And we'll see what is able to happen, if he was able to close the gap because there was slower traffic slowing down Daniel Wright, or if Tommy Kogan has the commanding pace. And we'll see a pass here shortly.
Well, looking at the status of that of Thornton's Mercedes, I think that had something to definitely do with it.
We got a yellow flag for Ice Tin. Spun the car off the track just in front of turn 1 after the start-finish line, and is having some trouble getting it back on the track.
Oh, hopefully he can get it back on. Thornton, he has to go wide because that poor Mercedes, there's not much left about that. But looking at the battle now for P3 still as they go through the corkscrew, Daniel Wright having to cut it a little bit just to be like, I got to be super aggressive here to defend my position. And he knows that Tommy Kogan's really going to pressure him here. Jordan Grand Prix, let's go Grills. Yes, sir. As Grills is currently P11, he is chasing down Rogue. But we're going to keep our eyes on this battle for P3 because this is absolutely heating up as they come across the start finish line.
Go to Grills and Rogue. They're going through the corkscrew side by side, the two of them. And there's contact. Oh, no, there's contact this time between Grills and Rogue is going to spin as a result. Oh, my goodness. It was, there's only so many times you can see cars go through the corkscrew like that and not have contact, and it just finally lined up that there was contact there. Rogue still stuck. And actually, that may be a retirement from Rogue there.
It is.
That is unfortunate. We're going to see a retirement out of Rogue there, who is on quite the charge on the race and just got unfortunate there in the corkscrew. That is unfortunate to see. But Grills is able to hang on to it, now has 10th position.
Now let's head to Tommy Kogan chasing down the Audi of Daniel Wright. And I really hope they don't go side by side through the corkscrew. That is, I'm sorry, I cannot take enough of that. My heart rate cannot take it anymore. All right, I don't know how you feel about it, Moose, but it's getting a little bit reckless if you ask me. Oh man, especially when earlier when the 4 cars went through there together. Oh my.
I've never seen that happen cleanly, and for it to have happened not just once but twice and a pass happening all in the same spree, not something I'm likely ever to see again. And unfortunately, it has ended in catastrophe, as it seems luck finally caught up with our drivers, unfortunately retiring Rogue from the race.
I'm gonna have to go back and clip that and post that on some Reddit threads, because that took some absolute skill to pull that kind of driving off, especially the way they did it. I mean, they followed each other perfectly, both sets of cars the first time through.
Yeah, and the corkscrew is not a turn that is forgiving of, we'll call them alternative lines. There's really only one that works going through there, and for 4 different drivers to find a line that didn't spin the car that wasn't the racing line is probably never going to happen again.
Righteous Fire now holding off the position from Dave Hassar for P4. And you got to wonder a little bit between these two drivers. I mean, they haven't been this far up the grid in this season. It's a Porsche and a BMW. I mean, what kind of blasphemy are we speaking here?
You're just having a little bit of infighting with the Germans. But yeah, both of those cars putting on quite the show for us. Neither one of them really letting one get away from the other. But we're also entering the latter stages of the race here with just 11 minutes left. We've got another yellow flag up in the corkscrew there. Oh, it looks like it's going to be Dave Grills this time. Not a big spin from the look of it. He's back out on the track, but there was a yellow flag there for him. I just missed whatever it was. And he's going to start making his way back out on the track. And yeah, it looks like the battle for Righteous Fire, that battle for 4th position between Righteous Fire and Hassar is not just heating up, it is closing in on the battle for 2nd place between Daniel Wright and Tommy Kogan. This may turn into a 4-car race for 2nd place here pretty soon.
That's exactly what we live to see here at Apollo Racing Club. A 4-car battle for not only the final place on the podium, but for P2, and but it's going to take a lot of speed here as we head into the last 10 minutes here of Laguna Seca. And we haven't actually talked about our leader very much about during this race, because it's Alexis Moyson. He has a 15-second gap over Daniel Wright, and this is exactly what he was hoping for after a P2 at the 4 Hours of Spa last weekend. And he's just done a great job. He has held on to the lead here and just gapped the field.
Yeah, and something I want to note is that I was kind of wrong that he was going to be spending a lot of time passing blue flag traffic, as the pace of the field has remained pretty tight, just about 3 seconds a lap between all of them, if we were looking at averages. So Alexis Moyson has not spent a lot of time stuck behind slower traffic, but yeah, definitely running away with this one. I think a lot of that lead is due to the fact that Daniel Wright has not had a second to breathe, because he is still fighting off cars as he's starting to pass some lap traffic here, with Tommy Kogan right on his bumper. He is just not getting the luck that he is hoping for, trying to get around these cars, because it is letting Tommy Kogan just reel him in, not let him get away.
And it's very difficult to pass through traffic. I mean, they do races on iRacing that are 3 hours at this track, and I go, how? How can you do GT3s? And, Brendan Gobes doesn't see Daniel Wright there, and he's going to get out of the way for these two, because the battle is just heating up and continuing on here. And Daniel Wright, he is definitely going to be complaining to the marshals about this after the race.
For sure. We've seen him complain a couple of times about blue flag behavior. Just a reminder that blue flags are not obligated to facilitate a pass to a car that's trying to pass them. They're just not allowed to defend their line, or defend the pass, I should say. But a couple of drivers have been a little bit more vocal about that, wishing it was more of the F1 rule of if you're blue flag, get out of the way, period. But it looks like they're more or less able to escape the slower pack there and could go on about their race.
And that really, that's been a big discussion, I would say, in motorsports, is blue flags. I mean, IndyCar does not do blue flags, as Jeff Fleischman goes wide, and Righteous Fire almost goes up the rear end of him, but it's going to go on as Dave Hassar makes the pass happen right before the corkscrew. What a pass there in traffic by the man in the BMW.
Well, he didn't really have much of an option other than to make that pass happen. Otherwise, he would have been stuck between slower cars going through the corkscrews, both a recipe for disaster and lost time. But as I said a couple of laps ago, the battle for third is about to turn into a battle for second, as Righteous Fire and Davis are in fact gaining on Daniel Wright and Tommy Kogan. This might get exciting as we go into the final 6 minutes of the race. Will they catch them and make the finish of this race that much more exciting? But the battle between Dave Hassar and Righteous Fire, they're now side by side going into turn 4. And looks like he's going to back off and allow them just to filter through and maybe attempt to pass later on down the track. But that BMW fighting tooth and nail to try and hang on to its podium position, or at least fight for it back. And I would have thought he'd been much farther down on the grid than he is right now. Dave Hassar putting on a really impressive drive as he is now fighting for 4th place.
Well, as you say, he's fighting for 4th place. He'll be fighting for more than 4th place potentially here soon, as the gap continues to get slower. The gap between Tommy Kogan and Righteous Fire now 2.8 seconds as they come through the corkscrew. Who is that off, sir?
Sorry?
There was a car off there, and I couldn't tell who it was.
Oh, yeah. I don't see it anymore. That's too bad I missed it.
Well, doesn't matter anyway. Let's head over. Let's continue on here and see what other things are happening.
I'm looking around. It looks like the battle between Daniel Wright and Tommy Kogan hasn't loosened up at all. Those two cars still just within half a second of each other. I'm not sure if it's just Daniel Wright putting on the hell of a defensive drive, or if Tommy Kogan's not able to get around, or if it's a little of both. But those two cars have been fighting almost this entire race since Tommy Kogan was able to get up there, and making it look like this battle could change at any second. As Tommy Kogan shows a little bit of restraint there, looked up the inside and decided not to go for it to try and pass right there at that corner. But now he's going to have to contemplate doing it in the corkscrew. And as we've seen, drivers are just, they don't care today. They're just going for it. And we might see something going on here, although it looks like he's not quite in striking distance, and Tommy Kogan is going to settle in behind right and filter through the corkscrew and try and find a better place on this track to pass, which is all of it.
And now Righteous Fire, he's continuously just pacing very well here as they come through Sector 3 into the, I would say, the much more faster portions of the track. I love this part of the track, especially in an open wheel car. It's very fun. It's very grippy. But Righteous Fire, he has to just find those better exits through the last turn. That's the only way he'll be able to get the gap between him and this BMW, and he's doing that flawlessly and really keeping Dave Hassar behind him and almost a second ahead of him. Now let's see, where else is some battles?
I don't think there are any other major battles for position. I really do think it's just these top couple here. Everybody else seems to either have left a sizable gap to the car that they would be battling with, or actually, as we say that, we have a car off over at turn 3 there. So that was the number 7 car, Brandon Gobes, off the track over there, waiting for traffic to filter around him so he doesn't cause an accident. Like to see that.
Not good, but the battle for P2 still, man, these guys are just driving like it is, like it's the last day on earth. Honestly, they are just pushing the car to the absolute limit, as we are seeing times of 1:24. The pace obviously significantly falling off just because of tire wear, but Tommy Kogan now, for some reason, he says he's P2.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's just a weird timing bug. It has to be, because looking at the two of them, it is still Daniel Wright out in front of him.
There he goes.
But they are going to stay. They are going to stay. Yeah, in P2 and 3 coming into the Andretti hairpin again. Righteous Fire and Dave Hassar closing up that gap. What used to be just north of 5 seconds, now just 2 seconds. But with only 2 minutes left in the race, maybe 3 laps left in this track, I don't think we're going to see a bigger battle for second unless something goes horribly wrong. I think the final battle to watch is going to be between Daniel Wright here in the second place and Tommy Kogan in P3.
Well,
although
Tommy
that
Kogan's...
said, what was bumper to bumper battling, there does seem to be a little bit of space between them. Not sure what happened during this lap, but Daniel Wright being able to give himself a little bit of wiggle room to the car behind. We'll see if he's able to hang on to that for the final 2 minutes of this race.
Let's look on with Tommy Kogan, head to his onboard helmet cam. And you can see he's trying to just push as hard as he can, but he has had so much trouble now finding that pace. He's now down to almost a second behind Daniel Wright as they come through the penultimate turn into the final turn. And can he find the exit? Can he find maybe those tenths back? He doesn't. Ooh.
I gotta wonder if it's we're getting to the stage where tires have fallen off that much. Maybe he underfilled the car and he's having to fuel save a little bit. It's hard to say without looking at the telemetry of the car, but he is starting to kind of fall off of the bumper of Daniel Wright, where he had been basically glued to for the last 15 minutes.
He's finding a little bit pace back. He has found 2 tenths. He's now 7 tenths back of Daniel Wright's bumper, but the time is running out. Where's Alexis Moyson? Is he going to cross the line before the time expires? I think he will.
He is about to go around the final corner, which means there is going to be 2 more laps in this race, I believe.
Let's see here. We will get notification very, very soon. 30 seconds now to go.
There's the leader on the final lap. White flag is waving, and it looks like the battle to watch is going to be between Righteous Fire and Dave Hassar, the Porsche and the BMW we've been seeing a lot of this race. And it is going to come down to these two cars fighting for the final position. I think that Daniel Wright and Tommy Kogan are more or less where they're going to finish, watching how their pace has been evolving throughout the last couple of laps. But Righteous Fire and Dave Hassar here are going to be fighting tooth and nail down to the very end as they finish or start their final lap of this race.
Alan Zog coming up with P14, battling with Jeff Fleischman, so he gets ahead there as they are approaching the final lap of this race. Their white flag lap starts right now, heading back over to Righteous Fire and Dave Hassar. This battle just ever so close now as they head into the hairpin. Is that the hairpin, or what would you call that?
What is that? Turn 7. A lot of them, that's just a left-hand turn. A lot of them don't have names here, which makes it kind of tricky. Got to learn the corner numbers. There are only actually 3 that are named here at Laguna Seca. There's the corkscrew, the Andretti hairpin, which is turns 2 and 3. And then actually the straight leading up to the hairpin has a name, but I can't recall right now. But watching these two cars finish their race here at Laguna Seca, the final couple seconds of their lap out of this 45-minute race, and it does look like Righteous Fire is going to hang on to 4th place here. Mr. Hassar behind, just not getting the opportunity to make a pass happen. Unless some magic happens here, it does not look like it's going to for Dave Hassar. And Righteous Fire is going to finish in 4th place. Daniel Wright and Tommy Kogan finishing in 2nd and 3rd. Righteous Fire crossing in 4th with Daniel Hassar right behind.
Waffle Smacks coming across the line in P6. What a finish from him in that BMW right behind his teammates. So the BMW is really doing a great job here today, finishing 6th and 7th. Craig Bray now having to fight against some traffic, but he'll come across the line in P7. Great race from him. Now Kieran Fox in P8 in that Audi. He had quite, I would say, a lonely race. So now Big Bark having the really battle for this P9. He is going to cross the line there. Niall Drake also really earning this P10 as he was part of that 4-car battle going into the corkscrew. And he is he's having some fun there, getting the tires lit up, and goes across the line in P10. Now coming in P11 was Rogue, but Rogue was no longer here. So P11 heading on over to Grills. Day of Grills coming across the line in that Porsche. Nice race from him, throwing some elbows out too tonight. So some great racing tonight, Moose. And what any things we need to take from this week heading into next week?
No, I just want to, honestly, if we see driving like that for the rest of the season, I think that there's going to be a lot for us to watch that's going to be very exciting, but it was very encouraging to see the amount of close racing that we saw with the relatively small number of incidents that resulted. Excellent driving out of everybody. We did not really, Alexis Moyson kind of did run away with it with 23 seconds between him and Daniel Wright by the time the race was finished, but not very much of a gap between the rest of the field. And that is what I like to watch. Tight racing with a whole bunch of fields sticking real close together, and these drivers put on one hell of a show for us tonight.
They really did. Well, that will do it for our broadcast here tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the racing as much as we did. Make sure to give us a follow on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate all of your support. Well, tune in tomorrow night for F1 2020 for Tier 1 action. Will the Williams team continue to dominate? Who knows? Make sure to tune in tomorrow night for some action. I'll be bringing you the play-by-play. And then Monday night, we have our Tier 2 action. Moose, any final thoughts?
No, sir. I just want to thank you again for having me on. It was a great race to watch here at one of my favorite tracks, and we had some great driving to match that great track. It was a fun weekend to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next weekend at Donington.
Well, for everybody here at Apollo Racing Club, we thank you for watching, and we wish you, we like to say good night. And